I never met, at least not that I remember, I never met my Uncle Ernie, but he was a guitar player. And he was into Django Reinhardt and Chet Atkins. And my dad was a big Elvis fan. And I guess the guitar was kind of associated. And my Uncle Ernie, this is my uncle on my mother's side, who I don't think I ever met. He got my dad, I think it was maybe a birthday present. And it was the Atkins Travis Traveling Show. That was the first time I heard Chet, was the Atkins Travis Traveling Show. And it was being played, and you know, one of the first things we did, my dad had cassette players, and the first thing you do so you don't wear out the record, you stick it on a cassette so you can play that. So you're not wearing out that vinyl. I was, you know, he was one of the early pirates.
Be ready. He was an early pirate.
But it was Atkins Travis Traveling Show, which had so much great stuff on it. And I remember my dad, he had a record. He had that record, and he also had a book by Bert Weedon. How many people heard that name before? Bert Weedon. And the book it was like the Mel Bay of England. And that book was called... Right, it was.
Do you remember Bert? Yeah.
Bert Weedon, the book was called Play in a Day. It was like the Mel Bay of England, and it taught you the scales and the chords, and my dad had that book, and he was teaching himself to play, and he was playing along with Down South Blues. That's Chet and Merle on the Atkins Travis Traveling Show. It was blues, and that got my attention. I said, Dad, and I was 5 at the time, I said, Dad, can you show me how to play that? And he kind of went, but he did. I mean, I don't know what he thought was going to happen, but he showed me those first chords. These were my first chords with my E, and it was B and A7. And that was it, and from there, that was my first guitar lesson, and by the end of the day, I was playing that song. And then after that, it was a whole bunch of the other standards, and we went collecting Chet Atkins records, Jerry Reed records after that, Merle Travis records, but it was Chet. We got as many of those records as we could find, and the local record store would always let my dad know when he had a new Chet record in. I mean, this is 70s. This is before the internet, where you could search what you're looking for and immediately find it in seconds. This was back in the days where you had, if something wasn't advertised on radio or TV or a magazine, you had to just find it and talk to people and know people. And that was it. So we got Atkins Travis Traveling Show. We got there was fingerstyle guitar, and so on, and all those old Chet records. And I was just very hungry to learn all of that stuff when I was a kid. Felt, you know, looking back, feel very lucky that I had something that I really loved that I focused on with a kid. But it was every Chet record we could get, and you know, I was learning things wrong, but still training my ear, and then seeing someone do it right and have a thirst. It's like, oh, there it is, you know.
I can remember the first time I saw someone else playing Windy and Warm. Right. Yeah, we were. I was about 10 years old, and we were playing a show. It was an outdoor thing, and we were all the artists were staying in a little motel, and we pulled up and went into our room, and I suddenly heard coming came from like just down the passageway.
Did you run?
Oh, I ran breathlessly. I knocked on the door, and the guy opened the door, and I didn't even look at him. I just ran straight past him, nearly knocked him out of the way, and went straight up to the guy, and he was sitting there like me, playing Chet style with a straight pick, right? Like this. So he was going, and he was making the sound. And I just stood there like that, watched him, and I picked up a lot. But that was, I can still remember that moment, you know. And then years later, I can remember being breathless, heart palpitations, sweating, and a mind racing on my way to the record store because I knew I was going to get the new Chet Atkins record. And I knew that the rest of the year was going to be brilliant because I had this new album.
To learn.
To learn.
Listen and just
Yeah.
immerse yourself.
How is that possible that going to buy a record can make you almost have a heart attack? I tell you, because you're a guitar player like us, and it's the new Chet Atkins record.
Oh, no.
So
I tell you, there was a point when I had all 5 Chet Atkins records. There wasn't a 6th one yet.
right, well,
High Five Focus was the next one.
that was a while back.
Yeah. It was prehistoric days.
Yeah, well, I was going to say that was before the wheel was invented, wasn't it, Johnny? You were getting around on horseback.
That's right. They had to do the turntable like this. You know?
Exactly. Well, let me tell you, from my perspective, so I'm from Australia, grew up in Australia, and I heard Chet on the radio the first time, and that's the moment that I heard my destiny calling. I didn't know that's what it was. But when I heard him, the first thing I knew is that he was playing everything at once. And I don't know how to explain that, you know. I've got a daughter who's 8 years old now, and I look at her and I think, you know, how could somebody that young know stuff like that? I don't know. But all I know is that I knew he was playing everything at once, and all I knew was that I had to figure that out. Whatever that was, that's what I had to do. And when I came here to Nashville in 1980 to meet my hero, our hero, while we were having lunch, he told me the same story. He said he was living on a farm in Columbus, Georgia, with his father and his stepmother. And his father had given him a radio, and he tuned in Merle Travis on the radio, and he said, "That's what I want to do. I want to do that. That's why I got to play like that. I got to, you know." And that's all he could think about. It consumed him, the same as hearing him consumed us, you know. And it seems to be a universal message. Every now and again, if you're lucky, you'll hear what it is that where your destiny awaits. So my first experiences with Chet Records was dealing with small-minded people who felt that it was American, so it was shady, it was a recording trick, you can't really do that stuff and all that. And like, I'm going, and guys are looking around for what tricks I'm doing back here. And there are none, it's all right here, you know. And so I dealt with you know, a 1,000,001 doubters and criticism from people. Oh, you don't want to listen to that stuff, you know, especially guitar players. They were all trying to get me to be Barney Kessel and Herb Ellis and Joe Pass, to be the cool jazz guys. And I wanted to be Chet. And oh boy, people didn't like that. They were like, you know, that's American rubbish, you know. This is real music. And I'm like, doesn't sound like rubbish to me. It sounds good to me, and I want to learn it. So yeah.